Oh, yeah. Hello, guys. It's Turp right here, and welcome back to another live stream. Even though it's school time for me, but still, I'm still live streaming. But as you can see the title, Space is going to launch the third crew mission called the Crew-3 to the ISS. After this live stream, I'm gonna make it a place it on this live stream. Even though the everyday astronaut is live streaming too. Anyways, let's continue the live stream. Oh, wait a minute. Because I have to share this system audio. Okay.
Extensive experience as a test pilot. Over his career, he has
Right now, we're almost at the 1 hour.
This will be the first space flight for Chari, who became a NASA astronaut in 2017. He's also a member of the
I almost forgot.
So he is eligible for assignment to a future lunar
if you want to join live stream, then you can. I'll give it the
spacecraft and second in command
get the
for
chat.
the mission, responsible for
I guess.
spacecraft systems and performance. Once aboard station, he will serve as an Expedition 66 flight engineer and is scheduled to
Also, I'm not
of
going to
the
play
station for
anything.
Expedition.
After this live stream, I'm going to focus on my
Copy, Dragon. You are go for launch.
school time.
All right, and that call endurance is a go for launch. Exciting news. Again, Tom Marshburn is a Statesville, North Carolina native who became an astronaut in 2004. Prior to serving in the astronaut corps, the medical doctor served as a flight surgeon at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston and later became medical operations
there's also
for the International Space
construction
Station.
worker.
The Crew-3 mission will be his third visit to the space station and his second long-duration mission. And the Crew Dragon will be the third spacecraft for Marshburn to fly in after the Space Shuttle and the Russian Soyuz. He previously served as a crew member of STS-127 in 2009 and Expedition 34 and 35, which concluded in 2013.
Kayla Barron is a mission specialist for Crew-3.
Perry's live streaming?
As a mission specialist, she will work closely with the commander and pilot to monitor the spacecraft during the dynamic launch and re-entry phases of flight. Once aboard the station, she will become a flight engineer for Expedition 66. Barron
Are you ready?
In Pocatello, Idaho,
Yeah,
but
let's go.
in her hometown. She earned a bachelor's degree in systems engineering from the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland in 2010, and a master's degree in nuclear engineering from the University of Cambridge in England in 2011 as a Gates Cambridge Scholar. Lieutenant Commander Barron earned her submarine warfare officer qualification and deployed 3 times while serving aboard the USS Maine.
Wow.
At the time of her selection as an astronaut candidate in 2017, she was serving as the flag aide to the superintendent of the U.S. Naval Academy.
That's awesome.
And Matthias Maurer will also be a mission specialist for Crew-3, working with the commander and pilot to monitor the spacecraft launch and re-entry phases of flight.
We have T-minus 1 hour. I repeat.
The space station. Maurer comes from Zonkt in the German state
59
of
minutes,
Switzerland.
36.
Before becoming an astronaut, Maurer held a number of engineering and research roles, both in a university setting and at ESA. In 2016, Maurer spent 16 days on an undersea mission as part of NASA's Extreme Environment Mission Operations, or NEMO, space analog. Like Chari and Barron, Maurer will be making his first trip to space with the Crew-3 mission.
Each of these 4 crew members will join Expedition 66 once they arrive at the International Space Station, with Russian cosmonaut Anton Shkaplerov as commander.
Yep, and it looks like we are just under 1 hour from liftoff now.
Let's go!
And this day is a continuation of regular crew flights to the space station from U.S. soil. This will be the 4th flight, Dragon. This will be the 4th flight of Dragon with NASA crew and its 3rd long-duration mission to the International Space Station.
And today, our crew is flying the newest Dragon in our fleet, and we'll be taking a ride on board the Falcon 9 that supported the CRS-22 mission back in June of this year. Now, it's been a great countdown so far. Weather is still looking good, so the excitement is continuing to pick up here as we get closer to that T0.
I'm really
That's right. We started
excited.
our coverage
How do
with
you
the
feel,
suit up
Turf?
just over 3 hours
How do you
ago.
feel?
The SpaceX team helped the crew put on their suits and conduct initial checkouts before crew walkout. Crew walkout was where Raja Chari, Tom Marshburn, Kayla Barron, and Matthias Maurer
Wait,
gave
you
final
mean
goodbyes with
crew
friends
locked
and
out?
family gathered outside of the operations and checkout building before they began that roughly 20-minute ride to pad 39A.
And though it was just after
says
sunset
recorded
and already dark
earlier,
outside, we
so
did
it's
still
already at the
get
launch
some
pad, I
awesome
think.
views of those Teslas heading down the NASA
Raining
Causeway
now?
before the crew arrived at the pad.
Oh,
Once
they're
on the
riding. They're
ride,
using
they
a
all took a
Tesla.
brief moment to enjoy the view of the vehicle that they will be taking flight on, and then headed up the fixed
I
service
call this
structure
one
to begin a process
SpaceX
known as crew
Crew-3.
ingress, where the astronauts entered
I
the
mean,
vehicle, and the
SpaceX
SpaceX team performed a series
Falcon
of checks to ensure
9
that the
Block
suits,
5.
seats, and vehicle interactions were all functioning properly.
Called it the Dragon, didn't
Then
they?
about 30 minutes ago, the team closed Dragon's hatch with the crew safely inside. So again, we're just under 1 hour to go until Dragon starts breathing fire. Things will pick up as we get close to the go, no-go pole
Let's
to arm the
go.
launch escape system and begin propellant loading.
Now, the crew poll for readiness was completed at T-minus 60 minutes, and the Dragon poll for prop load is coming up here in about a minute at T-minus 55 minutes. Now, next up at T-minus 45 minutes after that will be an internal mission control Hawthorne poll, and then the launch director's poll for propellant loading.
Are you
When we
streaming
get
this
to
on
about
YouTube too?
T-minus 40 minutes, the crew access arm will retract, and the crew will get to
I'm streaming
will
to
get the call
my
to close their visors and arm the launch escape
to
system.
my
Now, this is the automated system
to
in
my
place
streaming
that can fire
account.
the 8 Super
Turf
Draco
does
thrusters on
live.
Dragon to quickly separate the crew
Alright,
from the rocket,
nice.
either on the pad or during the flight on the ride uphill.
And then once we reach about T-minus 35 minutes, propellant loading for the Falcon 9 will begin. Throughout the countdown, we've been getting some pretty incredible views of the astronauts inside Dragon, making their final preparations, as well as some close-up views of those suits. The teams have often described the suits as an extension of the Dragon spacecraft, almost a mini spacecraft inside of a spacecraft. We're standing by now for that call for propellant loading.
Again, that should be coming up here at about T-minus 55 minutes. So we're just about roughly 40 seconds away from that.
The crew in position, ready to go. Taking a look at those monitors above them.
Wow.
And from the view that you can see on your screen, we have Raja Chari, the commander of Crew-3, closest to the screen, with Tom Marshburn in the pilot seat next to him.
With everything still proceeding well, let's send it back to the team in Florida. Daryl, how's it going there?
It's going great out here, ladies, and we're here with NASA astronaut Shannon Walker. If you want to get a question in, hashtag #AskNASA on Twitter, and she will do her best to answer your question. And by the way, speaking of social, Kennedy is hosting a virtual NASA social on our Facebook page. People who have joined are posting messages, pictures, and videos with their fellow space fans. And we want to share now 4 video messages that came into our virtual social for Crew-3 that were posted by the last 4 crew members to fly on Dragon. That is the crew of Inspiration 4.
I want to wish the astronauts of Crew-3 all the best on their journey to the space station. It's going to be one heck of a ride. Falcon 9 and Dragon, as you guys know, is an incredible vehicle.
Hi everyone at Virtual NASA Social. I'm Dr. Sam Proctor. I am the mission pilot from Inspiration 4, and I just want to wish
Hey,
Crew-3
it's the
an
Inspiration
awesome
4
liftoff as they head to the International
crew.
Space Station.
Hi,
Oh,
Roger.
that's
Tom,
nice.
Matthias, Kayla. Hank's here just to wish you well on your
Wow,
mission
mission
into space.
specialist.
I couldn't be more excited for you for the journey you're about to go through. Getting into that Falcon rocket with your suits on, to have your name on it, is a feeling like no other.
Crew-3, I just want to say I'm so excited for all of you. I know that rush of emotion that you're going to feel with your spacesuit on, strapped into the capsule, and you're about to have the best ride of your life. Just laugh the whole way up there like we did.
Just want to wish you all the best, and look forward to exchanging some stories a little bit down the road. Take care. Godspeed, Crew-3.
I love Haley Arsenault saying that she laughed the whole way up.
I can definitely relate to that.
Can you really?
Yes.
Well, what was so funny?
It's an exciting ride. You're just happy.
You're
You
just
gotta
so
laugh.
thrilled.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And whenever she says
I
anything,
don't know if I would laugh
always
if I
brings a
were up
smile on
there.
my face. She has such great energy. Well, throughout the program, we've been answering your Ask NASA questions from social media. We have time now for a few more before Falcon 9 fueling begins. And so we'll pop it up on the screen. And Shannon, you've been answering them all show long. We appreciate that. So the question we have up now is, what are your tips for me to go to space? I'm a high school freshman from Poland, dreaming of going to space.
Yeah, so the first thing, the most important thing is to do well in school. We need people who are very accomplished and have lots of different skills, and it all starts with a good education. Now, being from Poland, you're going to have to apply to the European Space Agency to be part of their astronaut program, and hopefully they will have another selection one of these days. But to really do well in school and then go pursue a field of work that really interests you. What you want to do is do something you're very passionate about, and that really, when you're passionate about something, you're going to do well at it, and it's going to stand out, and people are going to take notice. And yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a specific, STEM is good, right?
Right.
But there have been people who have not gone into STEM and become astronauts.
Every astronaut that we have taken on the NASA side has got a STEM background.
Oh, they do. And so
Yes.
that is a requirement.
That is a requirement right now. Now, of course, we're starting to fly more people and there are more opportunities to get to space. So it may not be a requirement in the future, but right now, at least on the NASA side, you need a STEM background.
A STEM background and study hard and get some good grades.
Yes.
Our next question, does it get very hot wearing the spacesuits, or is the material breathable?
Yes, no, the material is absolutely not breathable because you need those spacesuits to hold pressure should something go wrong in the capsule. So you need it to completely contain that atmosphere around you. So they can get a little hot, but the entire time you're in the suit, they're flowing air through it to keep you cool.
You've got an air conditioning system for the suit.
Yes.
Blowing that air around.
Yes, exactly. You need the air to be blown around because you really don't want to end up with a carbon dioxide bubble right in front of your face.
All right. Thank you so much, Shannon, for answering those questions, and keep the questions coming. We appreciate them at #AskNASA. Now we'll send it over to Marie, who is standing by with the Deputy Director of the Kennedy Space Center. Marie?
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here with you, Marie.
And I wanted to ask you about a special connection that you have to Kayla and Raja, part of the Turtle class of astronauts in 2017. You were actually on their selection board. Tell me about that.
Oh, I sure was. In the class of 2017, we had the most applicants ever in the history of NASA, 18,353. And when it was all said and done, we picked 12. Of course, Raja and Kayla were part of that class. So to see them when they first walked in for their very first NASA interview, and to know now they're on board the Dragon on top of the Falcon 9 rocket, it's just amazing. I'm very excited.
And so much has happened in such a short period of time. You became the deputy director just earlier this year in the middle of a very busy launch campaign. We've seen private citizens launch from here at Kennedy this year. More of that is coming. We've got a regular cadence of these commercial crew missions to station. And we're coming up on the 60th anniversary of Kennedy. So, so much has happened, like we said, in such a short period of time. What do you see ahead for the next 60 years of Kennedy Space Center?
Well, I see it's just getting started now. So this started with a vision. 10 years ago, we flew out the space shuttle, and we had a vision to create the world's premier multi-user spaceport for both commercial and government users. And now you're seeing it coming to fruition. So it's just got to be, we have 24 launches now, more launches than any place else in the world. When we finish this year, we should have close to 50 launches, and it's just going to increase more and more.
I want to also ask you about what is in the building right behind us. Of course, the Goliath vehicle assembly building, the Artemis rocket, the SLS Space Launch System rocket is fully stacked. We want to show you a peek inside our gigantic moon rocket. There it is. That is the Space Launch System and the Orion capsule being stacked.
Oh, hey,
on
that's
top. This is
Artemis.
video from late October
Well,
inside
if you
the
don't
vehicle
know
assembly
Artemis, it's
building.
going to be a
And
next
now that the rocket
program to the
and
moon
capsule are fully stacked,
again.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
322 feet tall, and that is taller, in fact, than the Statue of Liberty.
The rocket.
Quite a sight in there, Kelvin. I don't know
Just
if you've
like
had
that.
a chance
That
to
is
actually
tall.
go inside since that
That is
stack
very
in
tall.
October, but it's just astounding. And what
And
what do you
I
have to
think
say
it's
about
going
that
to
if
be
you've seen
launched
it inside?
soon.
And what do we have to get
It's
through
gonna
before
launch
that
soon.
first launch of Artemis 1?
It's
Okay,
gonna
I
be
saw
very
it
soon, I
today,
think.
and I see it about
Maybe
every
this
week,
year.
you know, and
Maybe
it is
this
just
year. I
humongous
think.
to see that rocket and to know that that rocket will carry our astronauts to the moon and beyond, hopefully to Mars. So right now we're undergoing something we call IVT, interface verification test. We'll do that for a couple more days, and then we're getting prepared to roll it out for a wet dress rehearsal. So hopefully that'll happen the end of this year, early next year. We'll roll it out to the pad, fully fuel it, test all the interfaces, pad, vehicle, and roll it back for a launch, hopefully in February.
Fantastic. Calvin Manning, thank you so much. And by the way, happy Veterans Day a little early. I know you served, so thank you for your service.
Hey, Trev, I'll be muted for a while because I got
to John
my
Insprucker now in
computer.
Hawthorne as the action
All
begins
right.
to pick up on the pad. John?
We're just inside T-minus 47 minutes. We're listening right now to the countdown net, waiting for the SpaceX launch director to discuss the propellant load and launch poll results and give final instructions to the launch team. At this time, we have completed all checks on the Falcon 9 and the Dragon spacecraft. We're also checking with the Dragon mission director to make sure that they are ready to go. And right now we're waiting to listen for that launch director to come up. Now we have been checking, as I said, with the Dragon mission director, also NASA launch manager to make sure they're ready. Now you can see on the screen right now, Falcon 9 on the pad, crew access arm alongside the Dragon capsule. Earlier, you saw the vehicle assembly building during that previous interview. The Falcon and Dragon launch team, as well as key members of NASA, are in the Launch Control Center, which is just adjacent to the vehicle assembly building. As you saw earlier, if you were with us, they've got a view straight towards pad 39A through the large windows of firing.
All right,
room
I'll be
4.
back. I'm gonna get some
current
breakfast.
Screen view, you can see the crew access arm. That arm, once we finish the readiness poll and instructions to the crew, or instructions to the launch
attention
team.
on countdown net.
And here it comes.
The poll is complete, and teams have pulled go for propellant load and launch. And stand by for hold
SpaceX
and
launch
escape
director
protocol.
says poll is complete. And he's
For
preparing to
non-urgent,
brief the
no-go
hold
conditions,
and
brief
safety
CE or
protocol.
LD, and they will approve aborting the countdown. For urgent issues affecting the safety of the operation, operators shall call hold on the countdown net. Launch control will abort the launch auto sequence immediately and proceed to the launch abort auto sequence. At T-minus 10 seconds, launch control will be hands-off, relying solely on automated abort criteria for the remainder of the count. Operators advise the launch director whether structural breakup or fire is imminent or occurring per Dragon manual escape flight rules. For those in firing room 4 here at KSC, in the event of a fire alarm, operators noted below 56.80 will remain at their post while the alarm is evacuated. In the event that personnel safety is threatened, evacuate to south-facing emergency exit leads directly outside. Launch control at this time, you may proceed with arming the crew arm for movement.
Just over T-minus 44 minutes. We're going to send it back to Daryl and the team at Kennedy Space Center as we get ready to move the crew access arm.
That's right, John. We are waiting that big moment here at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. As we do, we are T-minus 43 minutes and counting, and
Correct.
just got some.
Retraction has started.
And there is the retraction. Great shot of the Dragon moving.
Retraction.
Moving the crew
The
access.
SS arm is
moving away from it.
retracted.
Yep, and you can see that from inside
Yeah.
the Dragon as well.
And there it goes.
Here we go. This is going to be recorded in history, Turf. We
When
are
you're in
watching
the
history.
capsule, can you see
making
that?
Turf.
You can. You have windows
We are not here
that
to
are
simply
at
have fun.
pretty much your foot level, and
Play
you can see a
Minecraft.
little bit out, so you
We're
can
here
see that
to
moving away. And
witness
once it's gone, you know
history
it's
in the
just you and the
making.
rocket.
History of space.
There's the camera pointed directly at Dragon.
Also,
Great view
there's
there.
another
You can
history
see
of
the strong back
space.
at the
Did
top.
you know that Falcon
Oh,
9
that is a fantastic
first
view.
stage can land it?
What is the goal of Falcon 9 again?
I think I think Falcon 9 is reusable.
All right.
And this crew
How about
access
this
arm
rocket?
can move faster than it's doing right now under
Yes.
certain circumstances, right?
Absolutely. If it needs
Are we
to
going
go
to
But
like
back
the
sure,
ones
to
go to
because-
Mars?
back up against the capsule, it can move quite quickly, actually.
Is this the one to go to Mars or something?
But sometimes
It
on the
was just,
tests
not too long ago, about an
or
hour
on a
ago,
few
that we saw the
missions, it
astronauts walking
exploded.
down that very
But as
crew
of March
access arm.
26th,
Now it is
2015,
rotating away from the
I
rocket.
mean, 2015,
Just one more step
SpaceX
closer to launch. An important milestone.
successfully
Absolutely.
landed their Falcon 9
I'm
stage
enjoying
1.
just watching the various parts of the launch pad go by
Yes.
as we look out that.
Yeah, you don't
that moving
often
arm.
get that view, so
No.
it is. Might as well soak it in while we've got it.
There's nobody inside that arm. There's nobody on the pad. The only people who are there are the 4 astronauts inside that SpaceX Dragon capsule. You can see the water deluge system to the left out the opening there to the white room.
Crew access arm retraction complete.
And we
Your
just
retraction's
heard the
complete,
call
Griff.
out that the crew access arm has completed its
complete.
retraction away from the rocket. And
May
so
their
up
good
next,
luck to the ISS. Hope they
Dragon
stay
SpaceX,
safe.
you are go
We
for
wanna do a
section
little-
7 of 4.100. Close visors and arm the launch escape system.
Endurance copies will go
And that's
for
what's
section 7
up
of
next.
4.100.
arming the launch escape system. And while we await that, let's take a social question.
Oh,
for
that
Shannon.
sounds like a great idea.
Michelle Stone asks, as an astronaut, what moment does it become real that you are about to launch to space?
You know, Michelle, it is right about now. So, you know, everything else has happened according to plan. And this is really the final bit before you launch into space. So, anything had gone wrong previously, the access arm was there and you could just exit the capsule. Now it's just
SpaceX
you
Endurance,
and the
our visors
rocket
are closed. We're arming the launch escape system.
and arming the launch escape system, as we just heard that call, is a
SpaceX copies.
major milestone.
Because, you know, if for some reason something were to happen, that's how you're getting off the top of that rocket.
That is correct. If something happens, if it's detected on the ground or by the systems on the Dragon or that Falcon 9, it will engage that launch escape system and that crew will go shooting off that rocket.
Let's take another question now. Shannon, been doing so well with these questions.
I love answering questions.
Well, excellent. Here's another one. Are there pre-launch rituals and activities that the crew go through before launch?
You know, we do have some, I would say, traditions, and it's kind of interesting now that we're in the commercial
Launch
crew.
escape system is verified armed.
Okay, the launch escape system is armed.
Endurance copies. We see the same.
So we have traditions that come from the Apollo days. We've got traditions that we actually experienced over in Russia when we were flying on Soyuzes, and so we sort of combined a few. A lot of them, as you've seen earlier, involves the crew sticking their stickers on various places.
Yes. Everywhere you can.
Everywhere we can. We want people to know we were here.
And one more question for you, Shannon, as we await the loading of propellant into the Falcon 9 rocket. Hey, NASA, while watching the launch of Crew-3, I noticed the astronauts have a little mirror on their suits on their left arm. What are they for?
Yes, good eye to notice that.
Good eye.
Good eye. Yes, that mirror is actually will let you inspect your spacesuit to make sure everything is fine. So once you're in the spacecraft by yourself, if you open your visor and you need to shut it, you want to make sure, in my case, that your hair is not crossing the boundary and would interrupt the seal. that is necessary to keep that pressure on the inside. So they use that to make sure their spacesuit is in perfect condition.
How about that? I hadn't even noticed it. It is wonderful when we get these questions from the viewers and the people who are watching because
Right.
they're looking so closely.
They are looking closely, and it's great that people are picking up those details.
Well, let's take another one then, since
I didn't
we've
notice
got
that mirror. I
some
thought
great
that was just
questions
a
coming in.
sticker or something.
Can you
Lol.
keep your spacesuit after
Yeah.
mission?
Oh man, I wish I could keep my spacesuit. I don't know where I would put it, but no, unfortunately, we are not allowed to keep our spacesuits.
You couldn't stuff it and put it in the foyer?
I suppose I could. That would be a bit pretentious, don't you think?
But you know what's interesting is if you don't keep it, it is made exactly to your specification. So
What do we do with it? So, yeah, actually, after a flight, the spacesuits go into rotation for training. And so, at this moment, Samantha Cristoforetti, who is about my size, is using my spacesuit for her training
How about
while
that?
her spacesuit is being built.
Okay. So they really are used
Yes,
again, but not for space flight. They go into a life of training.
that's right.
Great questions, folks. We really appreciate these. These
Falcon 9
are
propellant
some
tank
good
will be
ones.
venting
And
from
Shannon,
offload in approximately 25 seconds. Expect loud venting.
so we're getting a call out as we prepare for propellant loading. And you see the crew there, Crew-3.
And they have their visors closed, so they are ready. They have them closed before the launch system is activated in case, activated in case it needs to be put into action. They will be safe in their suits.
Another safety measure. As we are here at the Kennedy Space Center taking another question from social media. Shannon, what was it like to feel the weightlessness of space for the first time?
Oh, that is such an interesting feeling when that happens. Of course, I felt it for the first time on the Soyuz spacecraft.
Interesting.
When we got into space and the engines cut off, to me, it felt like we were sort of tipping forward. I felt like I was floating forward in my harness that was holding me down.
That's
Don't
just
know
the
why. I
feeling
don't
you
think
got.
we were, but that's what it felt like.
Yeah. And not too long after you get up into space, don't you get ready to sleep in anticipation for getting to the space station?
It really depends on your profile. So what the Crew Dragon will do is what we did on our flight up, which also had a 22-hour-ish rendezvous. They will go through systems checks, make sure everything is working on the Dragon, and then they will have a sleep period before they do the final rendezvous.
And I want to ask a follow-up on this question.
Okay.
What's it like to sleep in space? Like, what happens? Is does your head what does your head do? And how do you get comfortable with not being against anything?
It is interesting to sleep in space. It is actually pretty comfortable to sleep in space, but it does take a little bit getting used to. I will tell you, the first time I was up there, for about the first month, I would wake up in the middle of the night and feel like I needed to turn over. But of course, that's not going to do you any good in space. So that's just part of adjusting to learning how to sleep in space.
There's certainly no pressure points, are there?
There are no pressure points. You're just tucked into your sleeping bag.
Are you restrained?
You have a sleeping bag on the space station. You have a sleeping bag that's inside your crew quarters, and that sleeping bag is attached to the wall. So you sort of float inside your sleeping bag, which is attached to a wall.
All right. Great job, Shannon. Thank you for all the answers to the questions there. And thank you, folks, for sending them in. They were wonderful. We enjoyed them. And Shannon did a great job of answering them. Just a few seconds away.
Half an hour to launch.
All right. Refueling is on.
Let's go.
And there we heard the call out.
Yes.
This rocket is being loaded with propellant.
Yes. Obviously, another major milestone, and that is something that is very.
There goes
obvious.
fuel from
They can
Indonesia,
feel it,
bros.
loading into the tanks. It starts.
There goes
low down
fuel
at the bottom
from
of the
Indonesia.
rocket is
From Papua.
the propellant gets the tanks get more full. It gets more vibrations and louder as it gets closer to the crew.
Yeah, you can hear that inside the capsule, right?
Definitely hear it. You know something big's getting ready to happen.
Absolutely. Well, we are T-minus 34 minutes and counting away from the launch of Crew Dragon's third flight with astronauts and the second for 2021. Today begins the next 6-month rotation mission to the International Space Station. The launch escape system is armed, as we just heard, which happens just before we have started loading propellant onto Falcon 9. That propellant is now flowing into Dragon. The Dragon capsule was loaded with its propellants about a week and a half ago, just a few miles down the road at what we call Dragonland. And in order to fly, Dragon needs a fuel and an oxidizer. So For the fuel, we use monomethyl hydrazine, or MMH, and nitrogen tetroxide, or NTO, for the oxidizer. Together, these propellants feed the Draco engines that must maneuver Dragon on orbit, as well as the 8 Super Draco engines that would power the launch escape system in an abort scenario. And again, that fueling, it is flowing. And that means the 8 Super Draco engines inside Crew Dragon are ready. If needed, they can launch the capsule away from the Falcon 9 rocket in an instant, should there be any kind of emergency associated with the rocket or the pad. And the NASA and SpaceX teams have trained extensively for exactly that type of contingency. So we'll send it over for now to SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne for an operations update with John I.
We're counting down those final minutes. Everything's still looking good for Falcon 9 and Dragon for an on-time launch just over 32 minutes from now. Falcon 9 did begin propellant load on time at T-minus 35 minutes. You can see Falcon 9 on the pad, the first and second stages. They're being loaded with 2 liquid propellants. One is a fuel loaded into a tank at the bottom of the stage. The other is an oxidizer that loads into the tank at the top of each stage. The fuel that we're using to power the Merlin engines is a refined kerosene, referred to as RP1. And the oxidizer loaded on each stage is densified liquid oxygen, or LOX. Now, densified is the term that we use to describe that we keep it much colder than typical for launch vehicles. And that allows it to take up less volume, and therefore we can put more liquid oxygen onto the first and second stages.
This is interesting
Now,
science.
to ignite the fuel oxidizer in the Merlin rocket engine, we use that favorite ignition fluid called T-tub. Now, when T-tub comes into contact with oxygen, it'll burn, and that gives off a green-colored flame. Once we've got the flame going, we add the kerosene fuel into the Merlin engine chambers, and the engine ramps up to full power. You probably won't be able to see the green flash at ignition of the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage, but you may see it on the second stage engine when it ignites following stage separation about 2 minutes and 48 seconds into flight. We're now beginning to top off helium into pressure vessels on both stages. We've been quiet for most of the countdown, but now we're going to squeeze that
30 minutes
last
left,
little bit
Turf.
and make sure
You
the
ready?
tanks are fully up on the pressure vessel.
I'm ready for the
We'll
launch.
use that gas to
do
pressurize
it.
the propellant tanks in flight. The
Should we
Merlin
keep
engines
ourselves
should be
unmuted
pulling
when it
propellant
launches?
out of the
We're almost
stage, and we
30.
need to take up or make up
Yeah,
that
we're
empty
almost there.
space with hot helium. Now, at the very top of the stack is the Dragon spacecraft. The astronauts are monitoring their systems while propellant is loaded into the Falcon 9. We heard them talking about the noises of propellant
Start
loading.
of stage 1 cryo helium
And in
loading.
this case, the crew training in the simulator also includes playback of sounds that have been recorded in the Dragon capsule during recent flights. Good news on the range, they are ready to support. They've been doing the balloon launches. They've been making sure that the air and sea space is clear, and they are go to support launch. And the good news on the weather front, a little while back, the launch weather officer came and reduced the probability of violation from 30 to 20%. The biggest thing that we're going to be looking for is precipitation, and that's less than 10%. The wind speeds are low, probably about 5 miles per hour or less. So everything is actually looking good. Now, as a reminder, we do have an instantaneous launch time for tonight's countdown. So from this point on, if we hear hold, hold, hold for any reason, we'll have to stand down and target our backup launch opportunity tomorrow night, which is about just under 24 hours from tonight's planned launch. But with that, everything's looking good, and we're going to turn it over to Jesse and Courtney for an overview of what comes after liftoff.
I hope they don't.
Great. Thank you,
postpone
John.
it.
We love good news. For Crew-3, the astronauts' flight to station will take about 22 hours.
As
You
we
full
await
screen
T-minus
the YouTube?
0 in just about 28 minutes,
full
the
screen
ground
it, sir?
operations teams are doing a series of systems checks to make sure both Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. You're looking at a live view of our teams at the Cape as they prepare for liftoff. As we wait for the launch clock to hit 0, we wanted to give you an overview of what the ascent portion of the mission will look like.
Once we hit T0 and a successful launch occurs, we will watch Falcon 9 and Dragon lift off from the historic launch pad 39A and make their ascent.
At about 50 seconds into flight, Falcon 9's engines will throttle down to help pass through the period of maximum dynamic pressure on the rocket. or what we typically refer to as max Q. It's worth noting that once we hit max Q, the vehicle will be going supersonic.
Now, once we are through the period of maximum dynamic pressure, we can throttle up our 9 Merlin engines again. Now, from there, at about 2.5 minutes into flight, we have a series of 3 events that will happen in rapid succession.
First is MECO, or main engine cutoff. This is where all 9 Merlin 1D engines shut off in preparation for stage separation, which is our second event. This is where the first stage detaches from the second stage, with the first stage making its way back to the Earth for landing as the second stage continues on its journey with the third event. SES-1, or second stage engine start number 1, is where the MVAC engine lights up and propels the second stage along with our Crew-3 astronauts into orbit.
As stage 2 heads towards its targeted drop-off orbit, stage 1 will execute 2 burns in order to make its way back to Earth. The first is the entry burn, where 3 of the 9 M1D engines will reignite and then shut down. Now, this helps to slow the stage down in preparation for entry back into the Earth's atmosphere.
While the first stage is heading back to Earth, the second stage will cut off its 1 Merlin engine that was ignited right after stage separation. Once that happens, we will wait for confirmation of a good orbital insertion.
About 90 seconds after Dragon gets into orbit, Falcon 9 will land back on Earth. The landing burn is just a single engine burn, but it's powerful enough to bring the vehicle's speed down rapidly in order to land on the drone ship at about 9.5 minutes into the mission.
And while Falcon 9 first stage is landing, Dragon is preparing to separate from the second stage. At about 3 minutes after the second stage gets into orbit, we should have a great view of Dragon with its 4-person crew drifting away from the second stage. Once Dragon is a short distance away, it will begin checking out its Draco maneuvering thrusters to make sure Dragon continues to increase separation distance from the second stage. It's worth noting that these are not the Super Draco engines that would be used during an abort scenario.
About 40 seconds after separation, Dragon's nose cone deploy sequence will begin. It will take roughly 4 minutes for the nose cone hooks to unlatch and open, exposing its guidance navigation controls, or what we call GNC, that will help the Dragon autonomously fly to the space station.
And lastly, once the nose cone is deployed, the remaining Draco thrusters on the forward bulkhead will be checked. From there, over the next 22 hours, Dragon will be in its rendezvous and approach phases, undergoing a number of phasing burns as it makes its way to the International Space Station.
I have a feeling
All
this
that will
is
be
going
coming
to
up
be
soon,
awesome.
but for now, let's check back in with Sandra in Mission Control Houston. Sandra.
Thanks, Courtney. The space station team here in Houston is focused, and the critical systems on the station continue to function normally. The teams have verified the command path from the ground up through our constellation of communication satellites to the space station. Everything is nominal, and the
Start of
station will
stage
be
2
ready to
cryo
receive
helium
Dragon tomorrow. Once the crew arrives at station, they'll join Expedition 66. While on board, their official designation will be flight engineers for most of their expedition. At the back end of their journey, Tom Marshburn will assume command of the station from current space station commander Anton Shkaplerov. Flight Director Rebecca Wingfield is on console now, leading flight controllers in Houston for launch, and will also lead teams for docking tomorrow. A reminder that a launch today will take about 22 hours to get to station, with the docking to the Node 2 forward port scheduled tomorrow, November 11th at 6 p.m. Central Time. Once Dragon is fully docked to the station, the team here in Houston will assist the Dragon and space station astronauts with leak checks as they work to open hatches on both Dragon and inside the station's pressurized mating adapter. We expect hatch open to take place approximately 2 hours after docking. That's it for us here in Mission Control Houston. I'll send it back over to the team in Florida. Daryl?
All right, thanks, Sandra. We are back here at the Kennedy Space Center, circling about that mock Dragon behind us.
Yes, pretty. It's a pretty capsule.
This lady right here flew on one, Crew-1, not too long ago, and had an incredible experience, 6 months up on the International Space Station.
Yes, 6 months. It's hard to believe that I've been home 6 months already, but
here you are,
here
ready
I
to
am,
watch a launch.
watching the next one go.
T-minus 23 minutes and counting. And if you're just joining us, we are ready for the third astronaut rotational flight and mission to the International Space Station under NASA's Commercial Crew Program. Commander Raja Chari, pilot Tom Marshburn, and mission specialist Kayla Barron. There you see them. They are strapped in along with Matthias Maurer, ready to fly inside Crew-Dragon Endurance. We can see them live as well as outside. The Falcon 9 rocket fueling operation is well underway. The launch escape system is armed, and that means Crew-Dragon is prepared to launch itself away from the Falcon 9 rocket in the case of an emergency on the pad or after liftoff. So far, operations look and sound as expected, and we are just counting down to that liftoff at 9:03 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see the steam as it comes off, the condensation as it comes off the rocket. I've noted in past launches that as it fills with fuel, the entire first stage begins to let off, and it kind of gives you a marker of exactly where in the rocket they are. It's almost like a little fuel gauge.
Exactly. Yep. Because the fuel and oxidizer are cryogenic, they are extremely cold, and so you just see them condensing the air around it. And of course, in Florida, we've got lots of moisture in our air to condense.
We sure do. There's some onshore flow, a weather pattern that is bringing moist air off the Atlantic Ocean. And so with this lit up, we should see a lot of this condensation coming off this particular rocket. The mission is the continuation of rotational crew flights to the International Space Station from U.S. soil on private rockets and spacecraft. This would not be possible without the success of NASA SpaceX Demo 2 test flight last year and the safe delivery of Crew 1 astronauts, including my co-host Shannon Walker, to the space station last fall for a long-duration mission. Crew 1 is back home, of course, and we have one of the mission specialists with us right here today. As you're counting down, we're only 21 minutes out from launch, Shannon.
21 minutes, sir.
What is going through your head in this moment?
Boy, this is really things get even more intense and more exciting. You can feel the rocket being fueled. You know you don't have too much longer, so you're really thinking about what you're going to need to do as soon as those engines light.
T-minus 21 minutes and counting. The excitement levels rising for the crew inside. Crew Dragon Commander Raja Chari, he'll be making his first trip to space. And as commander, he is responsible for all phases of flight, from launch to reentry. Chari is a colonel in the U.S. Air Force. He holds degrees in astronautical engineering and aeronautics. Chari is also a combat veteran, having flown F-15E aircraft during Operation Iraqi Freedom and deployments in the Korean Peninsula. As a test pilot, he has accumulated more than 2,500 hours of flight time in various military aircraft. His pilot is Tom Marshburn, sitting right to his right. You see Chari there on the left. Marshburn is suiting up for his third space flight. As pilot, he is responsible for spacecraft systems and performance. He previously flew on the Space Shuttle Endeavour and STS-127 and on the Russian Soyuz.
Load complete.
In Expedition 3435, while helping to assemble the International Space Station on STS-127. In that flight, Marshburn performed 3 spacewalks totaling almost 19 hours. It was just go, go, go. A North Carolina native holds degrees in physics and medicine. In fact, he was an emergency medicine doctor.
Yes, he was.
Mission specialist Kayla Barron, she's about to make her first trip to space. In this role, she will work closely with the commander and pilot to monitor the spacecraft during the dynamic phases of flight. The Washington State native has degrees in nuclear engineering and systems engineering. As a submarine warfare officer, she was a member of the first class of women commissioned into the submarine community, and she deployed 3 times while serving aboard the USS Maine. And lastly, on the end there in this shot is mission specialist Matthias Maurer. He will be making his debut spaceflight. He will be the second European astronaut to fly on Crew Dragon. Maurer is from Sankt Wendel, Germany, and is a doctor of materials science and engineering. He is the inventor of more than 10 patent applications, and he joined the European Astronaut Corps in 2015. Maurer has spent 16 days in underwater training during a NASA Extreme Environment Mission Operations Challenge, and he's trained in sea survival training off the coast of China. And an interesting note about Maurer, he will become the 600th person in space. 600.
Yes, even though all 4 crew members will be traveling to space at the same time, we have to assign numbers, and he is number 600.
He's landed on that big milestone. Chari gets 599. Barron is 601. What was Shannon Walker?
You know, I believe I was number 518, but don't quote me. I could be wrong, but it's in the early 500s.
We'll take a look at the NASA history books and
Yes,
we'll figure it out. Each of these 4 crew members will join Expedition 66 once they arrive at the International Space Station, where Anton Shkaplerov is currently commander of the space station. You spent some time as the commander?
I spent a very brief amount of time as commander, right at the end of our crew's time up there for about 2 weeks. I was commander after the Soyuz crew left.
All right. It was short.
Sweet.
But you were in charge.
I was in
Short
charge.
and Sweet. All right, let's go over to OSB2 and check in with Marie Lewis. Marie?
All right, thank you, Daryl. I am here with NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
What a pleasure. What a great evening. Looks like the rain has given us a break.
Yeah, it's clearing up. We've got a great view of the pad, and this must bring back quite a few memories from you. You launched from Pad 39A some years ago, and this is your first crew launch here as the NASA Administrator. What has this experience been like for you so far?
Well, just to have an opportunity to try to offer some leadership to this fantastic organization that where the impossible is routine. And it's just such a tremendous organization. You know, it's been voted the best place to work in the federal government for the last 9 years straight.
Stage 2
So
launch load has
is it
begun.
any wonder that everybody's excited all the time? And here's another reason what we're going to do tonight.
Absolutely. And you launched on the space shuttle 61C years ago. How did that experience change you, and how do you think it's going to change the astronauts that are going to space for the first time tonight?
It happens to every space flyer when you look back at Earth from the position of Earth orbit and you see this beautiful creation, our home, the planet, suspended in the middle of nothing. It makes you want to be a better steward of our planet. It's extraordinary. As you orbit the Earth every 90 minutes, and then, of course, the properties of microgravity in space, we're learning how to make new materials, new drugs. All of these things are going to come in a commercial operation that we're taking off the surface of the Earth and we're taking to space, and now we'll take it to the moon, and then who knows, we're going to take it on out into the cosmos.
And speaking of the
15 minutes to launch.
program, years ago, over 10 years ago, this program started. You were a part of that. There were a lot of skeptics.
40 until
SpaceX
SpaceX Crew-Dragon 3 is launching.
Yeah,
Yes.
about 15 minutes because it's 50 seconds.
SpaceX. And here we are now.
14
What does the
quarter,
success of this say
3 or
about
4.
what we can do when we do it together?
And still today, people have difficulty making that transition, but the proof's in the pudding. And the pudding is out there on
14 and a
launch
half.
pad 39A right
14
now.
and a half minutes to launch.
A commercial operation with considerable NASA help and oversight, because when it comes to the safety of our astronauts, NASA's going to be all over it. There's the proof. A very successful commercial operation.
NASA Administrator Bill Nelson, thank you so much for your time. Daryl, we'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Marie, and Administrator Nelson. Some good words there about our future exploration plans. Want to remind you, if you listen on radio, you can catch the frequencies for our local radio. If you're in the area watching out at one of the locations, you can check it out on local amateur VHF radio frequency 146.940, and UHF radio frequency 444.925. You can see it on your screen there. So if you need to step away from whatever you're viewing it on, be it your laptop, your tablet, you turn on your portable radio and you'll be able to listen in. Now, as we get ready to launch in the final few minutes, we want to take a look at some pictures that have some particularly significant meaning to the crew. Here they are, Crew-3 with their booster, a pre-flown booster. Crew-3 will fly aboard a new Dragon capsule, but that booster is pre-flown. This one launched CRS-22 to the International Space Station 5 months ago, and looks like they're giving it some love.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to hug your booster. It's pretty special to get to actually go touch the rocket that's going to take you into space.
Well, it's about to pin them back into their seats here in just a few minutes. At the time of launch, 9:03 p.m. Eastern, the space station will be flying 258 miles over the North Atlantic, about east of Newfoundland. You can see here the track of the International Space Station. And then from that moment, it will be catching up to the International Space Station once it leaves the coast of Florida. And with T-minus 12 minutes and 30 seconds until liftoff, we want to focus now on the pad as we proceed through the final stretch of the countdown. We'll turn it over to Hawthorne to take us through the launch and ascent. John?
Thanks, Daryl. It's just over 12 minutes, and everything is still looking good for launch
Well,
of Falcon
12
9
minutes first.
Falcon 9
Roll
will
off
begin
there.
propellant loading on time at T-minus 35 minutes. The RP1 fuel loading on the second stage, you can see up at the top.
12 minutes left.
Fuel loading on that stage is
Less than
complete.
12 minutes.
Fuel
It's
loading is continuing on the
almost
first stage.
11, 3/4.
80% of the way full, and it will finish up at T-minus 6 minutes. The densified liquid oxygen loading is also underway on the first stage. We're about 3/4 of the way full, and we began loading liquid oxygen on the second stage about 5 minutes ago. Now, liquid oxygen loading is the last thing to finish. We'll wrap up first stage at T-minus 3 minutes, second stage at T-minus 2 minutes. Coming up, we're going to do final checks of various engine systems. Our thrust vector controllers are going to be moved. We call them TVC wiggles, where we move the engines back and forth slightly. We'll also be moving throttle valves on the engines to make sure that they are responding to commands from the ground in preparation for flight. The Dragon mission director has reported their team is working no issues. We're going to hear from Dragon in about a minute here on the countdown. Their comm checks are complete. You can see the access arm is retracted. The launch escape system is armed. Crew is strapped in and they're ready to go. They'll get their final instructions at T-minus 10 minutes. They'll be told to configure their displays for launch. And that setup will give the crew insight into how the launch is proceeding and provide them constant updates on vehicle health. At T-minus 5 minutes, we'll be in terminal count, and Dragon will go to internal power, and we'll hear continued call-outs on the countdown net as we get closer to liftoff. And finally, easy to say, range is go, weather is go. So right now, Courtney, we're coming up on T-minus 10 minutes. One of the things that we'll hear on Dragon flights that we don't hear on other ones is the abort call-outs during the countdown. Can you enlighten us a little bit on what goes on with that?
Yeah, John, great to hear that everything is going well. We're continuing to track that Dragon and Falcon 9 are ready for launch. But just in case anything were to happen, Dragon is fully prepared to initiate an abort. Upon liftoff, you'll be hearing number and letter combinations on Dragon's trip uphill, which will mark different abort zones throughout the flight, the number signifying the stage of flight and the letter as the abort
Dragon
zone.
SpaceX,
The first
confirmed
two,
crew displays are configured for launch.
Copy. Endurance displays are configured for launch.
And copy that. Crew-3, we are honored to have you at the controls today as the first crew to fly aboard Dragon Endurance. We wish you a great mission, feel look, Godspeed, and enjoy the ride.
Thanks, Sarah. And sometimes when you try to fly on Halloween, you get a trick instead of a treat. But how honored and appropriate to get to fly Endurance on Veterans Day. We're proud and honored to represent the SpaceX and NASA teams as we head to the ISS to live and work on groundbreaking science for the next 6 months.
And there we have it, some final words from the crew aboard Dragon, and a good luck from the Corps here on the ground to the crew. John, with everything still looking good, that next milestone of engine chill is coming up next.
That's right. The next major event that we have is T-minus 7 minutes. It's what we call the engine chill event. The big thing that happens
Sorry that I
here is
missed
we
it.
open the
We
pre-valves
have
that feed the Merlin
10
1B engine.
minutes, I think.
So super chilled liquid oxygen will be trickling through the inlet to the Merlin turbo pumps, and that'll help chill those turbo pumps down before we hit them with the full flow of liquid oxygen during the ignition sequence in the last 3 seconds before
We have
T0.
about 8 minutes to
So
launch.
here is a call out, says stage 1 engine chill has started. We'll be monitoring all 9 engines to make sure the aux fuel pre-valves are all open. We're also chilling down second stage engine as we get ready for launch. And you'll hear an additional chill down of the second stage called out once we get into flight, a little bit before 2 minutes into flight, when we'll do a final chill of the upper stage engine turbo pumps. And if you might be able to hear behind me here in Hawthorne, a lot of energy. Folks are gathered around Mission Control Center, watching on the big monitors as we get ready for launch in just over 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Now, in addition, as I mentioned before, as we get ready at 7 minutes to open the pre-valves and begin the engine chill
7.5 minutes
sequence,
to launch.
we're also getting ready then to move into check-out reviews. The fuel trim valves are being cycled. Make sure that those are working. We use that to throttle the amount of propellant going through the first stage down to the engines as we go through flight. Coming up on T-minus 7 minutes, we'll listen into the countdown now.
Stage 1 engine chill has begun.
We're almost down to 5 minutes. I repeat, we're almost down to 5
Through
minutes.
another milestone. Next one coming up here at 6 minutes.
Yep, that's right, John. And that RP1 kerosene is filling that second stage. We're anticipating a little longer for that first stage to be completely filled with that RP1 refined kerosene. Liquid oxygen will continue to flow through the first and second stages up until the final few minutes before launch. That next call will be that the stage 1 RP load is complete, coming up now in about 15 seconds.
Stage 1
We'll
RP1
stand by
load
for that
complete.
call now. And confirmation, we have a complete fill of RP1 on the first stage. Now the first and second stage are completely filled with that RP1 kerosene. Now just under 6 minutes to launch until that instantaneous launch window today. The next milestone will be for Dragon to transition to configure for terminal count, and that's when Dragon's onboard computers will take control of the vehicle, and Dragon will be on internal power, no longer relying on those lines from the ground. From there, Falcon 9 tanks will pressurize for strong back retract. That'll be another visual milestones. The clamps just below Dragon's trunk will open and the strong back will tilt back just 2 degrees, then right after liftoff back to 45 degrees. Again, RP1 kerosene filled on both the first and second stages. Liquid oxygen continues to flow through on the first and second stages. Standing by now for that call that Dragon has transitioned into terminal count.
Dragon isn't configured for terminal count. Falcon 9 propellant tanks are pressurizing for strong back retract.
All right, John, some good calls.
Okay.
Dragon is
Sorry that I
on
missed it.
internal power.
We have a
and
less
Falcon 9 propellant tanks are
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
for strong back
And I think Taki's gonna join us soon. He's gonna be here for
Yes,
the
thanks, Courtney.
countdown with us.
Right in here now is the call out for strong back is retracting. This will be a 2-step process. First, we'll spend about half a minute opening up the arms that clamp around the second stage. There's the call out. The sequence has begun. So we'll slowly open up the arms around the second stage. We might get a view if we've got a close-up of the camera. Then once the arms are open, the strong back alongside Falcon 9 will retract about 2 degrees away from the rocket. It'll stay there all the way through liftoff. And then, as Courtney mentioned, at liftoff, hydraulics will then pull it down to about a 45-degree position above ground. And that'll give us the final clearance. It's that strong back right now that is providing the liquids, the gas connections, the electrical connections to the launch vehicle, especially the second stage. We're hearing some of the venting of the vehicle as we are pressurizing and depressurizing at various steps. As we get ready, you'll see a burst of depressurization there on the second stage.
That's right, John. We're also anxiously awaiting the stage 1 liquid oxygen is complete on the first stage. You should hear that call coming up here shortly.
Stage 1 LOX load complete.
And
We
confirmation that
are
the stage 1 LOX load
about
is
roughly 3 minutes away from launch.
All
Turf,
right,
you can't
LOX
miss
is
this
going
out.
to continue loading on second
Dragon
stage.
is
That'll
internal
wrap up
count
at
and is on
T-minus 2
internal
minutes.
power.
Dragon's gone internal power. Now again, at T-minus 2 minutes, we'll finish liquid oxygen loading. And then a typical event, we will drain the propellant lines that go along the strong back, and we'll typically get a large cloud of condensation at about 90 seconds before launch as we see the propellants come back down off of the strong back to prepare for liftoff.
Stage 2 LOX load complete. Dragon is in auto idle.
All right, Falcon 9. With that, Falcon 9 is fully fueled. We have fuel on both the first and second stages,
Gas
and
closeouts
both
is about
stages
to
are
commence.
filled with
Expect
liquid,
loud venting.
oxygen. Dragon is also in auto idle. The flight computers on board Dragon maintaining their calculations, standing by for the T-0 mark. That next call out will be that Dragon is in countdown. Standing by now for that call.
Less than 1 minute. Let's go.
FTS
Let's
is
go!
powered. Falcon 9 is in startup and is now controlling. Dragon is in countdown.
Dragon is in
All right,
countdown.
the
Let's do
final minute
it!
before launch. Just 47
The time
seconds
we've
to
been
go.
waiting-
Everything is
Dragon,
ready for
been waiting
nighttime launch
for.
today.
Go for launch.
Endurance copies. Go for launch.
Half a minute away from launch, Turf.
Ground teams are ready, and Crew-3 is ready for liftoff. Heading
30
for that
seconds
instantaneous
left.
launch window.
Now we can't see the
20 seconds to liftoff.
T-minus 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
10, 9,
9,
8,
8,
7,
7,
6,
6,
5,
5,
4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
0.
Let's go!
And liftoff. Guys,
This is the moment! Let's go!
Yeah!
Let's fucking go!
May the
International Space Station.
May the astronauts
Vehicle is pitching
can
down
go to
range.
the International Space Station.
Let's go! T plus half a minute!
And that's the call we want to hear. Good performance on that first stage so far.
T plus 30 seconds. Falcon 9 powered by 9 Merlin 1Gs.
We have like 30 more. Like I think it says like 2 minutes 30 seconds, right? To phase 2.
And we're into the throttle bucket in preparation for max Q.
Okay, guys, we have an experience of lagging out right now.
Getting ready to throttle the engines.
Mach 1.
Okay,
We've reached
Mach
Mach 1.
1.
I repeat, we've reached Mach 1. We've reached the speed of sound. Mach Q. We're going supersonic.
1 Bravo.
Copy,
All
1
right, that
Bravo.
1 Bravo call is for the second stage abort mode on the first stage. That is going to take them through the first stage, burning just before the second stage activates off the coast of North Carolina. That next milestone coming up shortly will be MVAC chill underway.
MVAC chill underway.
There's a call out. We're getting the second stage engine turbo pumps ready for their ignition coming up in just a little more than 40 seconds. We've got the major vents coming up
Going
here
second
shortly.
stage.
We're going to get main engine cutoff.
Go second
2 minutes,
stage.
36 seconds. The stages will separate. Then the second stage will ignite, carrying Dragon on its way into low Earth orbit. Everything continues to look good.
Stage 1 throttle down.
Looking good,
Stage 1
sir.
throttling down at 3.5 Gs. Getting ready for MECO.
MECO. Stage separation.
Stage 2 Alpha.
Stage separation complete.
Copy, 2 Alpha.
Stage separation confirmed.
Ignition of
Let's
the
go.
second stage. And you saw that green flash
Dude,
of
MVAC
that
ignition.
T-TEP fluid. And Crew-3 is now on their way to the International Space Station.
Everything's going good. Let's go.
On the left side, first stage, you can see the titanium grid fins coming out. The streaks.
Now we're on our way
of
to
the exhaust
orbit.
of the second stage engine
Yeah,
going by,
first stage.
and the lights of
First
Florida
stage
down
off.
in the background.
Acquisition signal.
That's right, and on your
Now we're
right,
on
that
to the
second stage glowing. With that red color we like to see, indicating everything is proceeding well. Now 3 minutes and 40 seconds into flight. Everything's still on track.
Glad to hear.
Acquisition of signal Bermuda.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory
And that
nominal.
Call out of acquisition of
Endurance
signal
copy.
Bermuda. That just means the Bermuda ground station has the signals from the second stage of Dragon and Falcon 9.
Currently on the first stage, we are coasting to apogee, beginning a slow 180-degree pitch, so that when the vehicle comes back through the atmosphere, the engines are pointed down towards the drone ship when we do the relight. Relight for the entry burn will come at T plus 7 minutes and 30 seconds, 3 minutes from now. Currently, the first stage about 166 kilometers up, continuing to coast to apogee for another brief period.
Meanwhile, that second stage still propelling the Crew-3 astronauts up the eastern seaboard, and it will continue to fire. That's about a 6-minute burn to deliver the astronauts into orbit.
Dragon, SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
Endurance copies.
And a good call out from the ground teams.
I always love to hear trajectory nominal, and the crew gets to hear it too on the call.
Acquisition of signal New Hampshire.
And the New Hampshire tracking station has acquired the telemetry signal. Five minutes and 30 seconds into flight today. Everything is still proceeding nominal.
And Courtney, right now on the second stage, it's such a large amount of propellant. It takes a while for second stage to really accelerate. The crew right now,
Dragon,
it looks like they're
SpaceX,
pulling about,
trajectory nominal.
looks like we're pulling about 1.5 Gs.
Yeah, right on cue, those check-ins on the second stage performance. Everything is still looking good on that second stage. The next milestone on the second stage will be SECO. And we're getting our views now from inside of Endurance, our first views of the crew on their way to the International Space Station.
We're 1 minute away from entry burn of the first stage. Hopefully we'll get a camera view back on the first stage as we light the 3 engines to come back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Not bad, not
Dragon
bad.
Stage one went.
trajectory
Stage one
nominal.
went black.
Endurance copies.
Another good check-in with the crew, confirming everything is still looking good so far on both ends. That next milestone coming at 7 minutes and 30 seconds will be entry burn start.
Currently waiting for the call out from the SpaceX propulsion.
Entry burn
responsible
starting in
engineers
5
that
seconds,
the 3
sir.
Merlin 1D engines have lit to begin slowing down the first stage prior to entering the Earth's
Stage
atmosphere.
2 FTS is safe.
Oh, let's go!
We've heard stage 1 entry burn to start up. We've lit the center
There
engine.
goes the entry burn.
We've got the 2 side engines, 3 engines running. This is a 27-second burn.
Is it just me or is?
This will slow the first stage down. We'll then enter the atmosphere.
Okay,
where
never
the
mind.
grid fins begin to work, and then we will fire the single center engine as we approach the drone ship.
Stage 1, entry burn shutdown.
Confirmation entry burn shutdown.
And meanwhile, that second stage is less than a minute away from cutoff.
Wait, is it just me or is it? Is
Lagging?
Is the stage 1 landed?
No, not yet. It just entered the burn.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they're gonna. I think they're gonna show it again later.
Shannon.
Copy, Shannon.
There's that call for Shannon.
Stage 1 is transonic.
Stage 1 decelerating as we prepare for entry burn, but our attention is right now looking at stage 2 as we get
And
ready
back
for
shutdown.
shutdown.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There's the stage 1 back there.
Dragon SpaceX nominal orbit insertion.
I think it's going to land.
And the
Yeah,
second
it's going
stage
to
has
land.
done its job. Our Crew-3 astronauts have been delivered into orbit.
Crew-3 has been delivered
Stage
to
1
orbit.
landing leg deploy.
Landing leg deploy.
Endurance copies. We feel Pico and South confirms we are in
Stage
space.
1 landing.
Dragon SpaceX launch escape system is disarmed.
We have lost signal.
The camera
1 landing
broke due to the stage 1's extreme heat.
And we've heard the call out. Stage 1 landing is confirmed.
Stage 1 landing confirmed. This is good news for SpaceX.
Some great call outs. That next milestone is spacecraft separation
I
around 12
think-
minutes into flight. Getting a view now of the Crew-3 astronauts from a camera aboard Dragon. The crew now coasting in low
Person
Earth
on the
orbit,
left hasn't
still
been moving for a
attached
while.
to that second stage.
Oh, all right, there you go.
Again, that next milestone
He's
coming
waving.
in about 2 minutes.
He's
The
waving.
second stage will separate.
Good luck,
and Crew Dragon
astronauts.
will be flying free.
And Courtney, right now, the Falcon
luck,
9 second
Crew-3.
stage is still attached to the Dragon capsule. When it's time, Dragon will command separation from the Falcon 9 second stage. Right now, that second stage, under control of its flight computer, is essentially going through a sequence to idle the second stage, make sure we're not pulsing any of the cold gas thrusters, the engine has been purged out. Essentially, anything that might cause motion of the second stage, we're making sure that all of that is eliminated so that when Dragon separates, it's got a very stable platform to move away from. I believe the cheering in the background, they're getting video back of Falcon 9 first stage on drone ship as we get ready for Dragon separation.
That's right, John. Separation coming just 10 seconds from now. Standing by for that
10
call.
seconds. 10 seconds before separation, Turf.
Expected loss of signal, Wallops.
And again, we are standing by.
Dragon
There goes the
separation
separation.
confirmed.
There we go.
Dragon separation confirmed.
There we go. There we go.
Dragon, CE, welcome to orbit. Hope you enjoyed the ride from F9. Dragon will take you from here. Safe travels. Stand by for words from LD.
And Endurance, LD here. On behalf of the SpaceX launch and recovery teams, it was a pleasure to be part of this
Goodbye,
mission with you.
Stage 2.
Enjoy your holidays amongst the stars. We'll be waving as you fly by. Cheers.
Wow.
Now, the question asked
Incredible
is
views of the crew
Falcon
now
9
in orbit on their way
Stage
to the
1
International
has
Space
landed.
Station.
Ride, better than we imagined.
Who knows? I'll check out the wiki.
And some final words from the crew as well. There they are, our Crew-3 astronauts. Now in orbit. That next milestone will be the deployment of the nose cone.
There's a turtle. There's a turtle
That'll be
floating in
about
space.
a 5-minute process.
Do you see the turtle?
It'll expose those forward bulkhead Dracos.
Is
and
that
we'll
a
prepare
doll or something?
them for checkouts as well.
Yeah, Courtney, watching them in zero G right now, working their displays, it looks so easy. But we've had the benefit of watching the launch team, the spacecraft team, the NASA team, everybody working here for the last weeks, working through this. And it's good to see it come out looking just so easy right now.
Yep, it's been a long time coming, and we're so excited to see them in orbit.
Dragon, SpaceX, nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
Endurance copy, VCSA, they'll be opening visor shortly.
Well, it was a beautiful launch from here at Hawthorne headquarters, at SpaceX headquarters here in Hawthorne. I can't imagine how the launch looked from over at Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, pretty incredible launch. We also got to see their zero-G indicator on the screen. It looked like a little turtle, so I'd love to hear the story behind that. But an amazing launch, an amazing day so far.
Yeah, that's right. And with that, we'll go ahead and send it back to Kennedy Space Center. Daryl, how was the launch from your end?
Well, it was simply stunning. Thanks. We're back here at the Kennedy
was.
Space Center with Shannon Walker, Crew 1 astronaut, mission specialist from that mission. Wow.
Wow is right. I mean, it was amazing. It's always so impressive to see a launch live. And
I agree.
what
It
always
is
strikes me
impressive.
is you get to see it and then you hear the sound after it's gone for a few seconds. It's truly amazing.
The delay in the sound coming to us, but we're seeing the sights. And when it lifted off, there was that low cloud deck.
Yes.
So it like lit up the clouds, it lit up the ground.
It was one of the most impressive launches I have seen.
And that rumble was probably one of the loudest I've heard. I don't know how to explain that.
I don't either. I mean, it seemed louder to me than most launches, and it was really rattling this whole setup where we are here.
Just a boom. And then we saw the zero-G indicator, a turtle.
A turtle, of course, because there's turtles on board.
2 turtles on board. And of course, they had to convince the other 2 astronauts to let them
go
do
along with
turtle,
turtles.
right?
Right.
And apparently they did.
I don't know who won that arm wrestle, but I guess it was the
It
turtles.
was the turtles. All right, we're joined now by Frank Davina, ESA's program manager for the International Space Station. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations.
Yeah, good evening. Yes, indeed, a beautiful launch. We have our second astronaut flying on Crew Dragon after Thomas that just returned last night. That was in Cologne. Welcoming him in Cologne after his space mission, and now I'm here to see off Matthias. It's great times for the European Space Agency.
What a turnaround that must have been to be in Cologne, there with Thomas, coming back, and literally just days later seeing off one of your ESA astronauts, Matthias Maurer.
Yeah, it's a great time for us because we have 2 astronauts back to back, and we will also have Samantha Cristoforetti
right.
that will fly in April next year. So for the first time, we will have for 1.5 years permanently ESA astronauts on board of the space station. So it also shows that ESA is really stepping up to the game. We are more and more engaged in the ISS, but also in the lunar program with our NASA colleagues in the Gateway. We will have 3 astronauts flying to the Gateway before the end of this decade. We are doing a new astronaut selection, so exploration is really also taking off in Europe.
And how did you enjoy the launch? Were you watching from the 5th floor of the Operations Support Building?
No, I was actually in the LCC,
Oh,
and
wow.
so I was
Right
able to go outside and go on the staircase on the outside on the fifth floor there or something like that. It's really amazing. Like you said, you see the light and then the sound, and you're really on the stairs there. You feel everything rumbling. So it's a really amazing launch.
Now, you two are familiar with each other, Shannon Walker and
Yes.
Frank DeVinna.
Yep.
Explain that.
Well, we have common job, and so American astronauts work with these astronauts, and so we actually go way back.
Yeah, we go way back because we were together in training actually. When I was doing my mission in 2009, Shannon was also in training on Soyuz. So
That's right.
indeed, we go way back, and we have worked a lot together.
So tell me, did you get a chance to talk with Matthias before, in the days leading up to launch?
Yes, I talked a couple of times with him, not as much as I would have wanted because, again, the launch was a little bit delayed and I had to be back in Europe welcoming Thomas. But I think he's very motivated, of course. It's his first flight. It's always like
always
this.
exciting.
Of course, also a little bit curious what's going to happen because it's different. The second flight and the first flight is totally different. At least for me, it was because you go into the unknown, and it's always a little bit scary to go into the unknown. You know that the people expect a lot of you. Matthias has a whole science program, not only an ESA science program, but also for the benefit of NASA, JAXA, and of course, every astronaut wants to perform to the best of his abilities. And of course, that also brings these thoughts with him. But I told him that he was excellent in training, and I'm sure that he will do a great mission as well.
ESA Program Manager for the International Space Station, Frank DeVinna. Thanks for joining us in the post-launch interview. We really appreciate it, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's send it over to Marie Lewis at the Operations and Support Building with another guest.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm here with NASA Associate Administrator Bob Cabana. This is your first crew launch officially as Associate Administrator. How was the launch tonight for you?
Oh, it was fantastic, Marie. What a beautiful evening for a launch. You know, it's like I tell folks, don't take pictures, experience it. And it was another great experience seeing those 4 guys take off into space on top of that Falcon 9 on that Dragon. How amazing. What a great partnership we have with SpaceX to enable that. I couldn't be more proud of our team in what we've accomplished.
And we now officially have more than 600 people who have been to space. Matthias was number 600. Kayla Barron is number 601. What do you think about the trajectory that we're on for human space flight going forward?
Well, it's absolutely outstanding. You know, what we want to do is enable a commercial economy in low Earth orbit so that we can focus on that really hard job of exploring beyond our home planet, going to the moon to learn what we need, going to the moon in a sustainable way so that we can learn what we need to go on to Mars eventually, establishing that presence in our solar system beyond our home planet. And to do that, we want to commercialize low Earth orbit and get as many folks as we can go into space. And that's what we're enabling right now. I think it's an amazing time for America's space program. We are definitely at an inflection point on how we are commercializing space.
And how about the future of the International Space Station in particular? I know that's near and dear to you because you helped build it. I mean, on 4 different space shuttle flights, you were one of the first people to cross the threshold into the space station.
You know, I can't believe it's been, almost 23 years since that first mission, that we've had crews on orbit since 2000. I mean, anybody that is 21 years old or younger in the world has never known a time that there weren't humans living in space. So, I think it's so darn outstanding.
And what do you want to say finally to the NASA and SpaceX teams that have gotten us here today? We're in this regular cadence of missions, and also to our international partners.
Well, first off, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all your dedication and hard work. This is not an easy job. It is a huge challenge to safely get humans to and from low Earth orbit. And the partnership that we have with our international partners, with our commercial crew partners, it has enabled this space economy that we have right now. I can't wait until we get Gateway around the moon. Again, an international partnership as we go back to the moon in a sustainable way. It's absolutely outstanding. So I think the future that we have in space is amazing, absolutely amazing. What a great time to be part of America's space program.
Absolutely. Associate Administrator Bob Cabana, thank you so much for joining us. And happy Veterans Day, a little early, and happy Marine Corps birthday.
More importantly, yeah, that's right, 246 years young. Happy birthday to all the Marines. And, thank you for everybody's hard work that makes NASA such an awesome place to work. #1 in the federal government. This is an amazing team, and I couldn't be more proud of them.
All right. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Daryl, we'll send it back to you.
And Bob, thank you so much. And now you're looking at a view of the first stage of the Falcon 9
Wait a minute!
which has landed back
Falcon
on
9!
a drone ship out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. The view cut out during our live coverage, but now you see it there.
That was a success.
It landed, and it was a beauty.
That was
It
a
was.
success.
That is so
A
amazing.
success.
Do that time and time
Successful
again.
landing.
It flew CRS-22.
I thought it was exploded.
It flew Crew-3, and it'll fly again.
Yes, it will.
Now,
Only the
just a quick
camera
update on
exploded.
the launch operations.
The camera
nose
exploded.
Cone, the nose cone from the Dragon
The
has
rocket
I
did
should
it.
agree.
off of it.
Yep.
And so that allows it to dock.
So absolutely, that's one of the key milestones, getting that nose cone open. You've got some engines underneath the nose cone, and of course the docking apparatus that allow it to dock to space station.
That's ready to go. And now the astronauts will prepare for their 22-hour, roughly, journey to the International Space Station.
They will. They'll probably have a snack and then get some sleep.
All right. In the meantime, how about we do a social question?
Oh, great.
One
Let's do
last
that.
one
Let's
for
do
Shannon
it.
Walker here at the Crew-3 launch broadcast. Let's take a look, and here we go. Hi, NASA. I'm talking here from Brazil, and would you like to know, they would like to know, how it feels to observe all the beauty of the planet from above. Your view when you were looking back at Earth.
You know, it's really, really hard to put into words, but when you first get into space and you can look out and you see the curvature of the Earth and you see the land masses and the oceans and the clouds, it's a lot to take in. But it's truly amazing what you can see from up there. And as a
I think I'm going to end the stream. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I would like to give a credit to Portable for joining this possible.
Yeah, and thank you so much for
Anyways,
SpaceX and NASA.
Anyways, I better go to do my school time. Anyways, I'll see you on the next stream.